Hey guys, this is Forsaken Reality here with another tutorial. In this one we're going to be looking into blood splatters using physical materials. Basically the way we're going to set this up is we're going to have a physical material that we're going to be able to set on our character or any material within here. You just set your physical material in your material, and that will allow us to send blood splatters on the wall behind our player or whatever you set your physical material on. And this will work in any projectile, so for a third person or a first person project. So the first thing I'm going to do now is pull my test project out of the way here. And I have a first person project here that's completely blank. You want to download set that up. And we're also going to need to download a third person project blank. Just blank third person project so we can get a character mesh to test within our project. And we're just going to migrate all this over quickly for our testing. But first, you can pause the video here and download those. And once you finish that, you can also go, and I'll leave the link for this in the description. These are the blood splatters we're going to use. They're free on the marketplace. So once you have those and everything else, we can begin adding it all into our project. First, I'll get my blank third person project. Migrate. And we'll migrate that into your content folder of your project. I'm just looking no to all, because it was just asking for meshes that already existed. So now we have our third person BP in here. And all we're really going to do with this in this project is throw him in the level. So that he's over there. And I'm just going to rotate him around so that he's facing forward. Okay. So now that we have that in here, we'll want to import our blood splatters. You want to install that and come into your launcher and add it to your project. And we're just going to add it to our blood splatter project. I'm going to pause this while it downloads. It doesn't usually take too long, but alright, now that we have this done, we can just close out of this and close out of this. We have our third person BP in here and our blood. So now we're going to go into our first person blueprints and into our into our projectile. And in here, I'm going to create a few things first so we can have access to our hit results and hit location elsewhere. So we can drag out of here and promote it to a variable. Now it'll give us our hit result. And hit location, promote that to a variable. I'm going to remove this space because I don't like spaces in my variables. I don't know why Unreal automatically does that because it's not really right. So set hit results and location use in BP. So basically every time we hit something will be these variables will be filled out, and this one will be whatever the hit result is, and this will give us the hit location. And we're going to come down here, custom event, so we can have it a little more organized. Spawn blood splatter. And the first thing we're going to want to do is get our hit result And if you break your hit result, you get all of these options for different things. And one of those is your physical material. But we want to get it from the hit component, so whatever we hit, we want to get our material from there. And we're going to be looking for a physical material specifically. And if you get the surface type, which I'll show you what it is exactly in a second, and you can type in equals just so you can see everything. We'll actually use this one. You'll notice that there is only a default variable in here. The surface type is a variable that's created automatically in the engine. And if you go into your project settings, edit project settings, and you go down to physics, I believe. Yep. And you scroll down, you'll have your physical surfaces, and you'll notice you have your default and none of the other ones are set. If we type in here, we can put flesh, and you can fill out however many you want for other types of surfaces, stone or whatever. Yeah, and you can look into more uses for physical materials later on. You can use them for footstep sounds. You can use them for, in this case, blood splatters on walls. Different things like that. We're going to compile and save this, and now you should see a flesh drop down right here. So we want to select that and hold B and click, and that'll create a branch. And I'm actually going to check if the physical material is valid. It's not all surfaces may not have a physical material set on them, and that will cause an error. So the physical material is valid, and then it will continue. And if it's flesh, then we will continue, and if it's not flesh, then we will just destroy the actor, which just destroys the projectile. So basically we can just delete this destroy up here, drag out, and spawn blood splatter. But we also have it coming out right now. It's only if it's simulating physics, and our meshes are not normally simulating physics by default unless they're dead or something. Then you would simulate physics, so your character would ragdoll. But our meshes aren't simulating physics, so you'd want to go over here so you can have a chance to blood splatter if you are and aren't. So basically, if you're dead, you'll still be able to simulate physics or spawn your blood. I'm just going to organize this a little bit, pull this over, just so it's not going inside that line. And I will comment this. I'm going to check if your physical material is flesh. And the way we're going to set these, if you want to set a physical material, you want to set it on the actual material itself. So you can scroll, you can get to the mannequin, and just like find your way to the actual material, and then you'll see this material. And open this up, and you'll see phys material. And you'll notice that you don't actually have anything you can use for yet, even though you created the flesh, because that's we actually need the physical material blueprint. So we'll just come back here to our first person BP folder, make a folder for physical materials, right click in here, and I believe that they are in the physics. Yep, physical material. Just want to select this and select, and I'm just going to call this is in for physical material flesh. I'm just going to open that up, set flesh right here on the surface type, Now we have our first physical material set up. So now it's equals flesh. And now we can come in here and set our physical material to flesh physical material. Save that. I'm actually going to browse that. I'm just going to call it flesh just so it matches up with everything else. Fix up redirectors just in case. And save this. Everything should be good there. Yep. Now we have a checking for our physical material. Just to show you that it's working here. Should have the same results, nothing else is doing it. We're actually hitting the, we have a third person character in here, so we want to open up your third person character. We don't have, you're just having a mesh in there, you wouldn't hit this, but your capsule is actually blocking your projectile right now. So you want to go to custom on your collision, go down to your projectile and set that to ignore. Our mesh. Just checking the collision on things. There we go. You want to turn it on pawn on your projectile. Pawn save. I believe that's will fix the collision here. We're not destroying the projectile. We're going to destroy it when it will do that. So that's that collision setup for a player character. Next, we want to go back into our projectile. You can just remove this print screen because we know we have flesh now. And we're going to want to line trace forward from the hit location so we can get the walls behind the player basically. So we're going to line trace by channel. The channel is going to be visibility. And this is where we're going to use our hit location for our start. So wherever we hit, it's going to be our hit location, and our finish is going to be, going to get the actor location. I'm going to use find lookout rotation. And from here, we're going to get our hit location again. So from the actor to the hit location, get forward vector, so we're moving forward. And we want to multiply that by a float. This will get the length of the line trace. I'm just going to set this to like 250. You can adjust that yourself to make the blood splatter further and closer. And I'm just going to pull that up. We're actually not going to plug that in there right yet though. I'm going to drag out of our hit location, vector plus vector. So, and plug this in here so we get our hit location, and then it'll add 250 to the starting point to create our ending point. So we're going to trace forward from the hit location here. And as you can see, this is in the projectile, so basically literally any project that has a projectile you could be setting this up in, just as a reference. There might be some collision adjustments, but I did the collision up here a little while ago, so you should be able to set them up similar to that. Basically, we're going to check, hold B and click to create a branch. We're going to check if anything at all was hit by the line trace. That has the visibility channel set to block. And we're going to drag out of here, break hit results. And if we do, we're going to spawn decal at location. And the location is just going to be the location right here. And the rotation is, we're going to get our normal right here. Make rotation from X. Plug that in like that. And our lifespan, I'm just going to set it to 10. That's how long the decal will stay alive for. You don't want it to stay alive forever, because that will just affect performance over time. And depending on how many decals you plan on spawning, will affect how many, like, so if you have not too many spawning, really, you can set this higher or lower, depending on that. I'm just gonna set a default size. And how we're gonna get our decal is we're going to create a variable. And we're going to use an array to store our blood splatters. So you want to click this over here, click array, and the type is going to be a material interface. And the way you can know that is if you hover this, you'll see decal material interface object reference. So that's what you want. Otherwise it won't allow you to actually plug it in here. So you have the array, and you'll notice that you can't plug an array in, so we need to get copy from our array, and the number we want is a random integer, and the random integer is going to be the maximum it's going to be from 0 to the maximum, and to get the maximum of our array we can get the length. So for whatever the length of our array is, we'll get a random variable. So compile this. We can add some blood splatters. So we have 5 different kinds of blood splatters, for example, and the length will be 5. So it'll get a random integer between 0 and 4, because 0 counts as your first number. And the mouse, so I'm going to give this a little comment. So you know when you come back in here, that's the distance to trace until you hit the wall. So if your player is closer or further from the wall. These are blood splatters, and we want to set some decals actually in here. So I'm just going to set I think I used the high velocity ones down here. And for some reason they seem to have a little bit of delay before you actually can set them. So just going to scroll down and set some of these high velocity blood splatters. I'm going to set 5 of them. I'm going to pause the video while I set the high velocity blood splatters, just because it's having a little bit of lag, and I'm going to extend the video longer than it needs. Okay, so now I have some blood splatters set here. We're going to want to destroy the projectile when it hits things. So we'll just destroy projectile, and we already have destroy set there. And we can drag over here and destroy it. So if it's the line trace doesn't hit anything, it'll still destroy the projectile, but if it does, it'll spawn a decal and destroy the projectile. And I believe that's going to be it for this. I'm just going to test it out, see if it actually works. Comment. Spawn blood decal. I think it actually might be getting the same one. Actually, no, they look different. Yeah, there we have it. So we're spawning our decals. I'm just double checking this. Yep. So that's going to be everything for this episode. If you found this video helpful and want to see more, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on any new tutorial video uploads. If you have any questions, suggestions, or comments, feel free to leave those in the comment section below or join my Discord community using the link in the description. Thanks, and I'll see you all in the next episode.